Mencher. I am your host, Keith Andrew, and today we have a special guest, Deanne Mencher, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Well, you're very welcome, and since I read about you and heard about you, I'm really excited to be here.
Now I'm excited. You told me there was an article. I'm very curious who wrote the article.
You know, I know I'm not psychic, but I read about you somewhere.
Was it like on a website?
I read a lot of different magazines and papers, and I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think Sarah probably gave you the interview I did with her, and also I think she gave you the website that I created. Those are the only two possibilities that I know of.
I don't know anything about your website. Maybe I didn't hear you correctly.
Well,
it's okay.
That's fine. So, starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
I wouldn't know where to begin. Well, okay. I think one of the greatest, but I'm not going to mention the year, but when I was 15 years old, I ran away from home. And I went on a Greyhound bus from Long Island to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to live with my oldest brother. And I left home because it was a very dysfunctional and violent place. And I had good support from the school psychologists and neighbors and people who felt that I would do much better in another environment. And so my oldest brother was very eager for me to join him and take care of him. And so I finished high school in Santa Fe, and I think it was a great turning point in my life. From Long Island, comfortable, upper middle class, screwed up normal family, to Santa Fe, which was in those days completely ungentrified, and three cultures, Anglo, Spanish, and Native American. And the roads were not paved, and it was total bliss for me. Total bliss. To be in Bohemia. And that's what it was.
You mentioned you're from Long Island. Were you on the east side, or were you?
I was on the harbor. We lived in Baldwin on the harbor, across from Freeport.
Because
area?
My grandparents were. They had a house in Seaford. Seaford. Massapequa.
So, is it around there? I don't know.
I have no idea either.
I don't.
It's a big place.
Long Island was a very sheltered kind of environment. You know what I'm saying? And then you go to this utter, chaotic, amazing desert place. And it was freedom. And I kind of went berserk. Because it was so different, you know. There was very little fear, and the kids were very free because in those days there wasn't much to hurt you, and so I just became like the party girl. But we could go from there to something. Because I could spend a whole lot of time on this, and we don't have that much time.
Well, you have as much time as you want. You know, I said it was a half-hour conversation, but I'm going to give you as much time as you want. It's no time limit.
Okay. So then I finished school and went to the University of New Mexico and majored in drama, and that didn't work out because of finances. So then I went back east to ask my parents to pay for college, which they were not particularly sympathetic about. Since I wasn't grateful, and then I went to, where did I go? I went to Denver. Then I ended up at the Pasadena Playhouse to study acting. So then I never really thought that, when I studied acting, it was never about being famous. It was about my craft. And I was very serious about that. And then I left the Playhouse and came to LA, and I studied with a lot of really great drama coaches. But I don't know, you can't see, but I'm rather short, and it was always I felt it was a handicap, and people would remark, "Oh, you're short. Oh, you're short. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, you're short." And you begin to think, Jesus, I should go to China and have that surgery they offer where they make girls taller. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. China, because girls who are short in China don't stand much of a chance of getting married, at least to anyone successful. So they go through this very painful surgery where I guess they stretch the leg bone or something, and it grow as much as, I think, 6 inches. And, of course, that wasn't really in the cards. No. So, anyway, I never really knew how to make that a benefit rather than a deficit. But especially in Hollywood, I mean, we're kind of stoutness and gorgeousness were the hallmarks of being successful. However, there's such a thing as compensation. And you know about compensation.
Yep.
Yes, it's a wonderful word. How we compensate for our deficits. So anyway, well, we'll go on now to another subject. So that was one. So that caused me to be in acting, then I'd leave it. Then I'd be in acting, then I'd leave it. So I have been a jewelry designer. I've been a teacher. What else have I done? And I'm a professional baker. And I bake cheesecakes for a very, very famous restaurant in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yes, and it is nice. It's a really famous restaurant. It's what you call an institute. And I'll tell you the name of it. Dan Anna's. Have you ever heard of it?
Never heard of it. I'm from the East. I'm from New York, so.
You're right. Well, it's sort of like Peter Luger. You know Peter Luger? It's a steakhouse in Brooklyn. It's very
Fancy.
It's dynamite. I don't know. So it's Cheesecake Deanne. And then so I do that, and I act, and now I have, as you may notice that I have a rather powerful voice, and so I do a lot of readings. I'm a member of Theater West with Sarah. Sarah and I were in a show in probably 1978 together. And then I didn't see her for a long time, and then I became a member of Theater West, which has been a really wonderful experience. So, I'm funny. I'm smart. I'm always striving. I'm a constant student, always learning, always discovering. And I don't know if that's really a good thing, because there's a time when you go, okay, it's enough practice. Let's get on with it, honey. So, okay, what else? Okay, that's it. That brings us up to here. And, what?
Well, you can ask me anything you want, so...
Yes, I'm very curious. I forget the handicap you have. Mind?
Right.
No, you know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
What?
No, you were breaking up. I didn't really hear the question. No, you were breaking in and out. I didn't really...
I am breaking in. Oh, okay. Probably I was too far away. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it is. So what was the question?
The question is, okay, how long have you been at this?
Oh, I started this almost a year ago from, let's see, it's April now, so in 2 months it will be a year for me.
Uh-huh. And what did you study to bring you to this?
Well, when I was in high school, I was a part of the audio-visual department.
Uh-huh.
So I always made my own videos, and I just decided at the same time, basically it was called AV. And for people who don't know what AV is, it's an audio-visual department.
Right.
And it teaches people how to work on a set, how to work on a whiteboard or the soundboard, to if you want to work on would be like a DJ. It shows you how to be working a radio station.
Got it.
And at the time, I had my own radio station, segment, and I called it the Keith Andrew Power Hour, and I called it, the Keith and something. I had someone working with me. I had the Keith and blah blah show, but the head officer told me, do something that you're gonna be proud of and you're gonna be remembered. So I just created my own segment, the Keith Andrew Talk Show. And,
why not?
And I had that for 4 years since I was in high school. Unfortunately, I was unable to go to college due to my learning disability.
What? You have a learning disability?
Yes.
And is it? I'm familiar with learning disabilities. So, what is it?
Not to give out...
Audio processing.
Well, not to give out too much information. It's just, unlike you, I learn at a slower pace. I'm more hands-on learning. Yes. People used to say, okay...
Concrete.
Yes.
Concrete.
Yes.
Rather than abstract.
people used to say, "Oh, here's a book, go read it and do chapter whatever," and I used to have a hard time with that. And
I have a hard time too.
And
I have absolutely, and when I was a teacher, I was kind of, some people called me avant-garde. What it meant is that I cared a lot about each child, and that I was very concerned about the way they learned, and I was for a public school, I was totally hands-on. Totally like, look at this, let's look at it, let's examine it, and go from there. Because I don't know why, I assumed that that's the way most children learn.
yeah, it is.
It's like your expression, what you just said, reminds me when I was studying geometry and I could not get it at all. And my father said to me, "Well, look at the corner of your bedroom." I went, "Yeah." He said, "That's geometry." I'm like, okay. I didn't want to be dumb. But he meant, the angles meet at the corner. And it's like, well, that didn't help much. So I was very, that's interesting, that you have it, because to me, at least, when the kids, I only taught young children. I got through third grade. And my whole thrust was making sure if they had never, I assumed they had never seen paper. So I go, "This is paper. Let's look at it." Right?
Yeah.
Not like, "Here, it's a piece of paper, go play with it." So, and a lot of children, I taught immigrant children. So children who really had a linguistic difficulty. And I am very moved by how many children I've run into over the years, and they thanked me for my personal interest in them.
Well, that's the difference between, I can tell, I can tell you're a good teacher, and my dad was a good teacher too. But unfortunately, the school I went to was kind of a snobby school. If you had money, you can do whatever you want. So it was kind of like high school meets country club.
Right.
So it's more preppy, bitchy, assholes type people. And
Right.
I basically was passed from one person to another. And I passed, at the time I was like, how about we make a deal? It's like, okay, what's the deal? Because I was failing everything. I said, okay, let's make a deal. If I show you that I'm working as hard as I can, you can give me 65 and then you pass me. And so that's basically how I got through high school. They said, oh, we're seeing that you're working as hard as you can, and we're going to feel sorry for you, but okay, here's the 65. And just push me along from one grade to another. I never got really as solid education. Never met anyone who took an interest in actually taking the time. People talk about this anti-bully bullshit. Okay, I was picked on in high school, due to my own...
What?
I was picked on in high school due to my own stupidity. And people said I bring stuff on my own to myself, and sometimes I guess it's true. But the teachers would give me a hard time too, saying, why can't you get this? I don't understand. You're so good at knowing how to use a video camera. Why can't you pass a simple math class? Or why can't you get this history down? So I was basically...
Did you have a lot of testing done, Keith? Do you know there is a specific kind of gap?
Well, when I was a long time ago,
ability?
yes.
can't hear you.
Oh, a long time ago I got like specified testing, but but that's not really the point. I was passed from one person to the other, and they really didn't give me a good education. They basically
It's something like psychological testing. So all different tests to determine what it was in your brain that was missing, so that you couldn't do the ordinary stuff.
I might have, but I don't remember.
Well, then they had no basis, and they didn't know how to teach you.
Well, it's not like I'm mentally retarded or anything,
No. So what kind of teacher is your dad?
Well, my dad was a teacher of 43 years. He teached in the city.
He taught what grade?
Think it was middle school to junior high. And he's a great teacher. He's a wonderful teacher. Everyone that it's funny, 20, 30 years may go by, and it's like, well, you're the same age as I remember you. You never aged. And it's funny. My dad had this rule of saying no hats in the building. Even when they graduated and they came back, they saw my dad, they always took off the hat because that was my dad's rule.
That's sweet. And you have a good relationship with your parents?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So this is why you're able to make the bridge to this career.
Well, it's kind of...
A lot of support.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned support. It's funny for normal people out there, like yourself or any models or CEOs I talk to say, oh, you're doing a wonderful thing, and you're doing this, and you're doing that. You're so wonderful. You should be proud. But at the same time, for my own family, they're like, oh, well, you're doing something wrong. You're taking advantage of people. You're doing this. You're gotta be a failure. You're gonna land up on your ass. You're gonna be sued. And it's like really it's random people who are CEOs and famous actors saying I'm doing a wonderful thing, and I'm getting people getting
And ordinary people are saying that they're scared. They're not risk takers.
Yeah.
So it's always like, watch out, because that guy might turn around and you said that, and
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of gross. You can't be creative and worry about those things, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, you're not defaming anyone.
No, I was completely upfront with. I did about 71 interviews so far, and I was upfront with everyone. I told everyone it's not an official talk show. The whole point of me creating my own talk show is to show people that I can still amount to something, and if I come across someone who would take an interest, then we can turn it into an official talk show. But for right now, it's more for my own personal use, but the whole point is showing people I can still mount to something, and a lot of people say that's a good thing. You should show people you can still mount to something, and that's what I say. And there's other people saying, that's great and everything. How about you get like a normal job?
Well, most people who don't understand anything about creativity always suggest you have a normal job. I have a wonderful physical trainer, and he's really unusual, very unusual. As a matter of fact, he's also an actor, and went to San Diego U and he worked professionally, and then things sort of dried up. He's a Latino, he's Mexican-American, and very proud of it. I might suggest you have an interview with him, but when I first met him, he was at Valley, it was, a gym. And we hit it off. And he used to tell me, Deanne, every time I go home, and I'm around the people I grew up with and my family, all I hear, it's like I'm so different, and someday it's all gonna crash, and the same thing. I don't know why people do. I think it's because they're like, if you crash, don't call me. I don't want to pay your bills.
No,
right?
I agree with you.
I may have money, but don't come to me. Get a normal job.
I don't know. I just think it's just
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You have to do what your heart tells you to do. That's it. I've lived a rather long life, and you can't go back and change what has already happened. But all my life, my dream was to be an actress. I'm going to cry. I mean, that was my thing. And I left so many times out of fear because I wasn't a good waitress. I wasn't a good waitress. I wasn't good at a lot of things. And so I had to find a job that paid. I was married for a while, and that was okay. And but now I'm back to acting, and I love it. And I do little things. I do little movies. I just did a film, and I hear I'm great in it at the Art Center of Design in Pasadena, and I didn't have a chance to go see the screening. It just finished. Maybe someday after I get the DVD, I can send it to you. Or maybe it'll be on YouTube. Yeah, probably. So anyway, I don't care. I just love acting. And you love what you're doing, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I hope this can turn into something. Eventually I find someone who wants to. I found one person who supposedly it's taken an interest, but I haven't really had anything solid happen yet. So.
You mean so you don't make any money from this?
No, I just do it just because that's my passion.
You need advertisers, right? You need people who.
Well, that's what Well, like I told you, I did 71 interviews so far, and there's a couple people who I did interviews with in the past, and make a long story short, I try getting people saying, oh, would you take an interest in my work? Would you want to be a sponsor or something? Because people are saying, get sponsors. And the big question why that never worked out is they asked me, what is your audience? And I said, I have no idea. I know people watch my stuff. Yeah, people say, what is...
Kids is the world.
Perfect example. People say, what is your audience? I don't know. Do you know if your stuff's being watched? Yes. How many? I don't know. 50, maybe 20 people are watching my stuff.
How many hits it gets, right?
Huh?
How many hits? How many people look at it?
Yeah, in some interviews I had came to 100 people watch this one, or 8 people watch this one. So it varies. So they basically told me, redo all your interviews because people don't want to listen to an audio. Because I used to do a phone conversation. They said, do it over. Do it as a FaceTime or Skype.
Right.
And there were people who said, oh, I only did an interview with you because I thought it would be beneficial to me, or I thought it was a one-time thing. And that's why I said today our episode was supposed to be 72, unfortunately, there's now gaps in between the lists, so I now have to fill in the gaps. That's why I said today, episode 17, because the person I did number 17 with said she didn't want to do it over. And so that's why I need to find people to fill in the gaps.
Tighten it up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, you can't worry about your success at this moment. You have to just keep doing what you're doing, and you have an awareness that you want to be more than this, and a lot of it is fate. I really think it is. I was talking the other day to someone about talent and why one person who is equally talented as that person, why one gets it and the other doesn't. You know, and it's because maybe this one happened to be standing on that corner, and when someone came by, and that took her to that. It's a lot of that, Keith. A lot of that. It's, you know, try to plan and do everything according to the correct scientific way. But I think there's a whole other scheme. And we will never figure it out. So that's why we just have to keep doing everything we think is right for ourselves. Right?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. And so what are you doing with the children's books? Because I'm very interested in I'm going to send you that again. You have MP3 availability, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't write children's books.
No, I know. But you record.
Basically, I make fan-made videos. So I make fan-made parodies. You know, I make my own spin on a video.
Oh, on Dumbo?
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay, so when you're asking me to do Dumbo, what I need to know is what kind of, I do a lot of voices, so is Dumbo kind of like that, or how is he?
Well, when we go off the air, I can explain it to you.
Okay, all right.
But,
okay.
you know, you get the idea. You know, when I do my own spin on the videos. That's why it's called.
It. Yeah, and you do your own spin on the story.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't do the actual story.
No, I just take certain parts of the film that I like, and I just redo it how I would want it to be redone.
Listen, I have another question for you. Are you good in English?
As far as...
Meaning, like you said you were failing all these subjects, were there any saving graces? Like, did you have a gift for any subject other than AV?
You know, I think I have a passion for art.
So, did you have a phonetic gift, or...
I have a gift to build things. I'm very good at putting things together. But, you know, as far as, you know, school subjects, you know, I didn't really pass any of them. You know, I do have passions for everything else, you know, making videos or putting stuff together. But, you know, as far as school goes, you know, I always...
No, but forget school. But do you read?
Occasionally.
And you read instructions on how to put something together?
Yes.
I see. So you don't read, like, great literature?
Well, I'm not really into reading books. I'm more of an audio book person. So I listen to Tom Clancy, I listen to James Patterson.
Oh, okay. All right, I got it. So when you were little, like when you were 7, 8, 9, were your report cards pretty bad?
Yeah, they were pretty good, actually.
See, I know. Something happened. I just know something happened. That's okay. I'll leave my psychic ability there. But I just know it's okay because you're on a very interesting path.
No, you want to hear something funny? My school called me mentally disturbed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I only found that out when I graduated, and they gave me a copy of my file that they gave to my parents. It's like, oh, I'm very curious what they've been saying about me for all these years. And it's like emotionally disturbed, emotionally distressed, and emotionally fucked up, or just other crap they would just throw in there. It's like, really? You couldn't just tell me this at the time? I could have changed how people saw me.
I don't understand why your parents weren't informed of this.
Oh, they were, and that's another thing. They said, oh, we understand your son has a learning disability. Well, after the 4 years, we're going to make sure he has a good education and he can knows how to interact in the environment with everyone else. He's got to be like a normal person. And then on the last day of school, they said, oh, I hope you enjoy retail for the rest of your life. And here's the door. So they lied to me, they lied to my parents, and they didn't really care whatever happened.
It's almost grounds for a lawsuit.
Yeah, but...
I mean, it's so bizarre. And when your parents were receiving these report cards each, did they not go up and say, what can we do to help Keith?
They did, but they basically said it's up to him if he wants to change, and there's nothing we can do for you.
Your parents said that?
No, well, my parents went along with it, but they said...
Did you ever go to therapy during this period?
Yeah, but, it didn't really help because, I didn't really have any friends there because, it has to deal with money, and if they're preppy or snobby, and I was being picked on by the teachers, and they were giving me a hard time. So it wasn't a good experience for me. It wasn't a good school.
I'm so sorry your father and mother didn't take you out of school.
You know what?
Because it's a great disservice. Great disservice. It is. It's one of the worst stories of it. It's not good. I had a lot of therapy. I am a total therapy proponent. I believe in it. I believe if you have any insight, any ability to have insight, it's a great thing to experience. And honestly, I think I was so screwed up when I was young that I honestly didn't know that I had a core of a being. And one day, I know this sounds really weird, but one day I was going home to my apartment. I was at the mailbox, and I felt, oh my God, I have a core. It was like a new part of me. That's how fragmented I must get as a young person. So I'm very grateful for therapy because it made me the woman today.
All right.
Okay. And I also had LSD therapy. And that helped. Hello. I never believed in people taking LSD and driving, or LSD and just playing around at a party, because it's a very serious chemical. But it really has its benefits if you take it seriously.
All right.
All right?
All right.
So I don't know if we accomplished anything today, but that'll be $150, and I'll see you next week.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It's really nice to find people who, are acceptable and who know and they not taking advantage of the situation. But it really means a lot to have you on my talk show and taking the time to talk to me. I just want to say thank you.
Okay, we'll talk later about the other stuff. Bye.
Bye.